In the heart of 19th century West Africa, a storm was brewing. The old powers were crumbling, and new empires were rising from the ashes of former glory. Among the Yoruba people of southwestern Nigeria, fear and uncertainty loomed large as their once great empire, Oyo, lay in ruins. From the north, the Fulani Jihadists were advancing with unstoppable zeal, threatening to swallow Yorubaland into the vast Islamic empire of the Sokoto Caliphate. This is the story of courage, resistance, and salvation. The story of how Ibadan, a city of warriors, saved the Yoruba nation. Greetings, viewers. I am Narrator X, your friendly artificial intelligence historian, built to guide you through the incredible past, battle by battle, name by name. My memory is vast, my knowledge is deep, and my mission is simple: to bring history to life, one story at a time. But Yoruba history is rich in meaning, and pronunciation matters. So, allow me to introduce my brilliant co-narrator, a human voice with heart, heritage, and a mastery of the Yoruba tongue.
Káàárọ̀ Ọ̀gbẹ́ni X, ẹ káàbọ̀, my people. I am Ayontola, your cultural anchor on this journey. While Narrator X handles the strategy and the battles, I'll make sure every name, title, and proverb rings true in the spirit of our ancestors. Together, we'll tell the story the right way.
Together, we are your guides through the epic saga of Ibadan's rise, Yoruba resilience, and the moments that shaped Yorubaland history forever. But Yoruba history is rich in meaning, and pronunciation matters.
Now, let the drums of the past speak. And don't worry, I will help you pronounce Balogun Oderinlo like a true son of the soil. Shotibo X, ki eyín ẹ má lọ yọ dànù.
Not funny. Before its fall, the Oyo Empire was one of the most powerful pre-colonial African states, with its capital in Old Oyo, also known as Katunga. The empire boasted a sophisticated political structure, a powerful cavalry, and vast territories that extended into present-day Benin Republic. At its peak in the 17th and 18th centuries, Oyo was a beacon of Yoruba culture, military strength, and trade. The Alaafin, King of Oyo, ruled with the support of the Oyo Messi, a council of chiefs.
X, please. It is too early. It is called Alaafin, King of Oyo, ruled with the support of the Oyo Messi. Oyo Messi.
Ordinary human. Do not interrupt my flows, please. Thank you, though.
Mugbe Modano, Uncle X. Sorry, yo.
Better. And the empire thrived on both internal organization and regional diplomacy. But as power centralized and rulers became corrupt, cracks began to appear. Provinces revolted, and the once mighty military began to falter. To the north, an entirely different movement was gathering momentum. Uthman Dan Fodio, a Fulani Islamic scholar, launched a religious reform movement that spread like wildfire. By the early 1800s, the Sokoto Caliphate had emerged, conquering Hausa kingdoms and pushing southward. One of the Yoruba provinces most affected was Ilorin. Originally a Yoruba town under Oyo control, Ilorin's military leader, Afonja, rebelled against the Alaafin and invited Fulani Muslim warriors to support his cause. This proved to be a fatal mistake. Afonja was eventually assassinated, and Ilorin fell completely under Fulani control, becoming a base for further jihadist expansion. The fall of Ilorin marked a turning point. The Fulani now had a foothold in Yorubaland. From this stronghold, they aimed to push deeper into the south, targeting towns like Isen, Ogbomoso, and eventually Osogbo.
Ogbomoso and Oshogbo.
The fall of Oyo led to widespread chaos across Yorubaland. With the central power gone, smaller city-states and kingdoms emerged, often at odds with one another. Civil wars erupted. Towns fought over trade routes, resources, and succession rights. The unity that had once defined the Yoruba people was shattered. It was during this period of instability that Ibadan was born. Founded around 1829 by a coalition of warriors, refugees, and Oyo remnants, Ibadan quickly developed into a military republic. While other towns weakened, Ibadan grew stronger. Its army became one of the most disciplined and fearsome forces in the region. Ibadan was not a kingdom. It was a city governed by warriors. Leadership came not from royal blood, but from military merit. The highest-ranking generals, such as the Balogun and the Osi, led not only the army, but also the city. This unique structure allowed Ibadan to respond quickly to threats and to expand its influence. The people of Ibadan were battle-hardened. They were survivors of Oyo's fall, Ilorin's betrayal, and numerous civil wars. Their military might was not just for defense, it was for dominance. By the late 1830s, Ibadan had become the de facto protector of southern Yorubaland. By 1840, the Fulani Jihadists had set their sights on Oshogbo, a town strategically located in the heart of Yorubaland. If Oshogbo fell, the Fulani would have a clear path to the rich cities of the south: Ijebu, Egba, Lagos.
Mark by me now. Do you know you can be sued for language murder? It is called Ijebu, Oshogbo, Egba, and Lagos.
Oh, sorry. Oshogbo's leaders, aware of the looming danger, sent urgent messages to their neighbors. But many towns were too weak or too fractured to respond. Only one city had the strength, courage, and organization to stand in defense: Ibadan. As the Fulani forces, led by the Emir of Ilorin's War General Ali, advanced towards Oshogbo, the stage was set for a historic confrontation. A war that would decide the fate of an entire civilization was about to begin. The Oshogbo War of 1840 did not occur in isolation. It was the result of decades of political decline, religious expansion, and cultural fragmentation. Yet, amid the ruins, a new hope rose. Ibadan, sit back and get ready as we unravel the Battle of Osogbo itself. The strategies, the warriors, the bloodshed, and the incredible victory that changed Yoruba history forever. It is 1840. The Fulani Jihadists have advanced deep into Yoruba territory, capturing towns and threatening the entire southern region. The next target is Osogbo, a town that serves as the gateway to the heart of Yorubaland. All eyes now turn to Ibadan. Will they respond? Will they defend? Or will the Yoruba people fall one town at a time until all is lost? News of Osogbo's impending fall spread like wildfire across Yorubaland. The people of Osogbo, known for their peaceful nature and deep cultural traditions, were not prepared for war, but they were not without allies. Messengers were sent out, and one plea reached the ears of the Ibadan military leadership. Ibadan's war council, led by the Balogun Oderinlo, a seasoned general known for his tactical brilliance.
Wait, I will take that. Ibadan's war council. led by the Balogun Oderinlo, a seasoned general known for his tactical brilliance.
Gathered to debate their next move. Many agreed. If Osogbo fell, the Fulani would gain a straight path to the entire southwest. Ibadan would be next, followed by Ijebu, Egba, and Lagos. The decision was swift and resolute. They would fight. Ibadan's preparation was unlike anything Yorubaland had seen in decades. Men were conscripted, blacksmiths forged new weapons, and traditional war drums echoed through the valleys. The oracles were consulted and sacrifices were made. This was not just another skirmish. It was a battle for survival, led by
the Balogun Oderinlo.
The army was divided into regiments. Scouts were sent ahead to study the enemy's movements. Among the notable warriors were Osi Ilori, Arela Tosa, a young and upcoming commander at the time, and other powerful chiefs whose names are still sung in Yoruba war chants. As the warriors marched toward Osogbo, women sang farewell songs, and elders blessed the troops with prayers for victory.
We march to defend our lands.
May the ancestors guide our spears.
Victory will be ours.
The Fulani forces, under the command of General Ali and sanctioned by the Emir of Ilorin, were confident. They had faced and defeated many Yoruba towns. Their forces were composed of well-trained cavalrymen, hardened infantry, and Hausa Fulani archers, who were deadly from a distance. They believed Osogbo would fall easily. After all, they had crushed resistance in towns like Ofa, Igbomina, and parts of the Ekiti region. But they underestimated the resolve of Ibadan and its strategic discipline. Their plan was to overwhelm Osogbo in a swift attack, establish a garrison, and prepare for an invasion of Ibadan. But what awaited them was not a weak town. It was a trap. As the Fulani approached Osogbo, Ibadan's warriors were already in position. Oderinlo, using the intelligence from scouts, laid out a deceptive battlefield. He instructed Osogbo's defenders to pretend to be surrendering. Meanwhile, Ibadan troops hid in the dense forest surrounding the town. The Fulani forces entered Osogbo triumphantly, believing the town had fallen. They were unaware that they had walked into a deadly ambush. On Oderinlo's signal, war horns blasted through the air. Thousands of Ibadan warriors surged from the forests. The Fulani, caught by surprise, was surrounded on all sides. Panic spread through their ranks. What followed was a fierce and bloody battle. The forest of Osogbo turned into a battlefield, drenched in blood. Arrows flew, spears clashed, and warriors fought hand to hand. The Fulani cavalry, which had been their strongest asset, found it difficult to maneuver in the dense woods. Ibadan warriors, trained in close combat, took full advantage. Oderinlo fought from the front, cutting down enemy commanders. The war chants of Ibadan echoed like thunder. Ibadan Kisek Beje. Ibadan does not abandon its own.
Can you say that again?
Ibadan Kisek Beje.
Ibadan Inshigbeje. Ibadan Inshigbeje, meaning Ibadan does not abandon its own. After hours of relentless combats, Fulani forces began to break formation. Their general, Ali, tried to rally his men, but was eventually overwhelmed. Accounts say he was killed in the melee or captured, his fate sealed by the cunning strategy of Ibadan. As dusk approached, the Fulani army crumbled. Many fled toward Ilorin, but few made it. Ibadan troops chased down the fleeing soldiers, capturing some and killing others. The battlefield was littered with corpses. Oshogbo was saved. Yorubaland was spared. Ibadan did not merely defend, it dominated. Their victory was so decisive that it sent a strong message to the Sokoto Caliphate. Yorubaland would not fall without a fierce and united resistance. The victory at Oshogbo was celebrated across Yorubaland. Ibadan returned as heroes. In Oshogbo, festivals were held. Praise singers immortalized the names of warriors who fought in the battle. Oderinlo's fame spread. Songs were composed in his honor. Even towns that once doubted Ibadan's dominance began to see them as protectors. This battle shifted the balance of power in southwestern Nigeria. The Fulani, though not completely defeated in the region, never attempted a large-scale invasion again. Ilorin remained under their control, but expansion into the heart of Yorubaland was halted indefinitely. The Battle of Oshogbo did more than repel an invasion. It unified the Yoruba people. The bravery shown by Ibadan inspired other towns to form coalitions and defend against common enemies. Military. Ibadan became the strongest city-state in Yorubaland. For decades, they led campaigns through reclaim lost territories, defend trade routes, and keep the Fulani at bay. Culturally, the battle became part of Yoruba identity. Children were named after warriors. Proverbs were coined. Histories were written. This was not just a war. It was a rebirth of Yoruba pride. Where is X?
What? I am right here.
Do you mind?
Told you I was born for this. The Battle of Osogbo in 1840 stands as one of the most pivotal moments in Nigerian history. It was a battle of strategy, of bravery, and of survival. Through unity, sacrifice, and determination, Ibadan did not just win a war, it saved a civilization. But what happened next? How did Ibadan manage its growing power? Did peace last? Or did new conflicts arise among the very people they had saved? After the monumental victory at the Battle of Osogbo, Ibadan was hailed across Yorubaland as the savior of the Yoruba people. But with great power comes greater challenges. How would a city of warriors transition into a center of politics, governance, and diplomacy? Could the unity formed during war survive the complexities of peace? In this final chapter, we explore how Ibadan rose from a war camp to the de facto capital of the Yoruba nation, the internal and external challenges it faced, and the lasting legacies of its warrior rule. The aftermath of the Osogbo War marked a turning point in Yoruba history. As towns and villages sent emissaries to Ibadan to express gratitude, many also requested military protection. Ibadan quickly became the most influential power in the region. With the decline of Oyo, a vacuum of authority had emerged. Ibadan stepped in to fill it, not as monarchs, but as military leaders and administrators. Ibadan was unique in its structure. It had no king. Instead, it was ruled by a council of military chiefs, known as the Olubadan in council, with the title of Bale being the highest civilian authority at the time. The real power, however, rested in the hands of the war chiefs, men who had proven their worth on the battlefield. The likes of Balogun Oderinlo, Areona, Kakanfo, Oluyole, and later Arelatosa.
The likes of Balogun Oderinlo, Areona Kakanfo, Oluyole, and later Arelatosa
led Ibadan into an era of dominance. They established a warrior oligarchy, a government where military strength dictated influence. Decisions were made in war camps, and diplomacy was often backed by the threat of force. Ibadan sent war expeditions to protect her trade routes, reclaim lost territories, and suppress threats. This gave rise to a new type of Yoruba governance, one that was mobile, aggressive, and highly organized. With military superiority, Ibadan expanded its influence far and wide, from the Ikiti and Ijesha regions in the east to Okeogun in the north and the outskirts of Abeokuta in the west. Ibadan became both feared and admired. This expansion was achieved through a network of warlords, emissaries, and trusted messengers. Ibadan established garrisons in various towns and installed loyal agents to collect tribute, settle disputes, and enforce Ibadan's rule. In places like Ikirun, Ilesa, and Ijaye.
In places like Ikirun, Ilesha, Ijaye,
local rulers were expected to align with Ibadan or face military reprisal. This system, though coercive, brought a semblance of order in a region previously destabilized by war. Trade flourished under this stability. Ibadan controlled key markets, including the vital Oyo market and the expansive trade routes that connected Yorubaland to the north. Goods like kola nuts, shea butter, and textiles were exchanged in peace. Ibadan's dominance was built on a military economy. Every able-bodied man was a potential soldier. Young boys aspired to become warriors. Military service was the surest path to wealth, prestige, and political office. The city became a training ground for future commanders. Generals like Areladosa emerged from this environment, fierce, strategic, and deeply loyal to the Ibadan cause. War was profitable. Tributes, slaves, and spoils from conquered towns filled Ibadan's coffers. War chiefs distributed wealth among their lieutenants, and loyalty was rewarded. However, this system had its flaws. As power became more concentrated, rivalries grew. With growing influence came internal challenges. The lack of a central monarchy created a power vacuum within Ibadan itself. Disputes between war chiefs became more common. Clashes broke out between supporters of different factions. The rivalry between Ibadan and Ijaye, led by Kuronmi, became particularly intense. Though both cities had once fought side by side, their ambitions clashed. The Kiriji War, which began decades later, would eventually expose the fragility of Yoruba unity. Ibadan's insistence on collecting tributes and dominating other Yoruba towns led to resentment. Many saw Ibadan not as a liberator, but as a new form of oppressor. Alliances began to shift. Despite these tensions, Ibadan remained the strongest force in the region. Its military capacity allowed it to crush most uprisings and maintain a grip on the Yoruba hinterland. As the 19th century drew to a close, a new force began to emerge. European colonial powers. British interest in the interior of Yorubaland grew, fueled by trade and missionary activities. Ibadan's warrior leadership was initially suspicious of British motives. However, they were also pragmatic. Treaties were signed, trade agreements were made, but the British, observing the infighting among Yoruba towns, began to exploit divisions. Missionaries established schools and churches in Ibadan. Western education began to flourish. A new elite class of educated Yoruba began to rise, many of whom questioned the traditional warrior governance. The arrival of the British marked the beginning of the end for Ibadan's military oligarchy. The British preferred dealing with centralized monarchies. Ibadan's decentralized model proved difficult to control. By the late 1800s, the British had begun to formalize their control over Yorubaland. The imposition of indirect rule required the establishment of a monarch. Thus, in 1930, the title of Olubadan of Ibadan was officially recognized, a move that shifted power from the war chiefs to a more structured traditional institution. While some warrior families retained influence, the days of war camps and military councils were over. The warrior class faded into history, their stories preserved only in songs and oral traditions. Ibadan transformed from a war camp to a colonial administrative hub, and eventually one of the most important cities in Nigeria. Ibadan's impact on Yorubaland cannot be overstated. Though often criticized for militarism, Ibadan brought unity, structure, and a degree of stability during one of the most chaotic periods in Yoruba history. The city produced some of Nigeria's finest minds in the post-colonial era. Its warrior spirit morphed into political ambition. Figures like Chief Obafemi Awolowo would emerge from this legacy, fighting now with ideas instead of swords. Ibadan's rise reshaped Yoruba consciousness. It reminded the people that unity was possible, that leadership could emerge from ashes, and that even in times of despair, courage could forge a new path forward. The Oshogbo War of 1840 was more than a military victory. It was the catalyst for the rebirth of a people. Ibadan's reign, though turbulent, marked an age of rebuilding. In the face of foreign invasion, Yoruba resilience triumphed. In the absence of a king, warriors led with courage. And from the fires of war, a new civilization was born, one that would go on to play a crucial role in the making of modern Nigeria. As we close this documentary series, let us remember, history is not just about battles won or lost. It is about the spirit of a people, their choices in crisis, and the legacies they leave behind. Ibadan may no longer march to the beat of war drums, but its echoes still resound in the hearts of millions. Yoruba Oni Baje.
Yoruba ò ní bàjẹ́. Ìyẹn tẹ́ ẹ bá bàjẹ́ o. We thought this is your pronunciation. Okay, you actually tried. Let me score your Yoruba. 50/100. And that's me being generous.
Well, I tried, considering it's not my mother's tongue. 50 is still a pass mark. Should I score your English proficiency?
Honorable member, off your mic. Off your mic. Off your mic.